Fire your entire team by Friday, or I'll do it for you. Gerald Walsh tapped his Mont Blanc pen against my desk calendar. His voice was flat, like he was ordering lunch instead of destroying 8 people's careers. I kept my face neutral, but my grip tightened on the coffee mug. My name is Nathan Reed. I'm 52, did 2 tours in Afghanistan, and I've been working corporate for 15 years now. But nothing in Kandahar prepared me for this kind of warfare. They've hit every target this quarter, I said. Actually exceeded most of them. Jerry leaned back in his chair. Numbers don't tell the whole story, Nathan. Your team costs $2.1 million annually. That's double what comparable departments run. Through my office glass, I could see my people working. Blake monitoring security feeds, Owen sketching interface mock-ups, Layla handling a client call with that smile in her voice that actually closes deals. They bring value, I said. They bring expenses. He stood up, smoothing his designer suit. Look, I get it. You're attached. But I've been brought in to modernize this place, and your little collection represents everything that's wrong with old school thinking. Old school thinking. Right, because 15 years of corporate experience plus military leadership training equals outdated. They need proper notice. 2 weeks minimum. Friday. He headed for the door. Handle it yourself, or I'll bring security to escort them out. Your choice. After he left, I sat there for a minute. Then I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the stack of thank you notes my team had written last month when we finished the Meridian Defense contract. Real handwritten notes. Not emails, not digital thank yous. Actual paper where people took time to say we'd built something worth being proud of. These weren't just employees. They were professionals who'd saved this company's ass when everything went sideways 2 years ago. That evening, I sent a simple text to everyone. Conference room B, 7:00 p.m. They showed up one by one, 8 faces looking at me the way my squad used to before a mission briefing, trusting, ready, expecting me to have answers. Management wants you gone by Friday, I said. Blake looked up from his laptop. All of us? All of you. But the Meridian 2.0 launch is next month, Layla said. They can't possibly think. They think you're too expensive. Owen set down his pencil. What about results? Client satisfaction? Revenue growth? Apparently those don't matter to someone with an MBA who thinks experience is just another line item to cut. Raj pushed his glasses up his nose. So that's it? 3 years of 60-hour weeks and we're just disposable? I twisted my wedding ring. Old habit from deployment when I needed to think fast. What Jerry doesn't know is that you're not just my team. I looked around the room. You're family, and family doesn't abandon each other. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. I joined Meridian Defense Technologies 5 years ago as a project coordinator, basically the guy who keeps everyone else on schedule and makes sure deliverables actually deliver. I was quiet, efficient, and completely invisible to upper management. What they didn't notice was how I studied everything, which contracts succeeded, which failed, how decisions got made, and most importantly, who actually kept this place running. It wasn't the executives in their corner offices having strategy meetings. It was people scattered through different departments who solved problems without fanfare, the ones who stayed late without overtime complaints, the ones whose ideas got stolen by managers but who kept innovating anyway. 2 years ago, this company almost went under. Revenue dropped 45% in 6 months. 3 major defense contracts went to competitors. The board started talking about bankruptcy while executives pointed fingers at each other in conference rooms. I walked into CEO Hugo Price's office with a proposal. Give me 8 people and 6 months to turn this around. No announcements, no fancy office space, just resources and freedom to work differently. Hugo looked at me like I'd suggested we solve our problems with a Ouija board. Why should I trust you with this? Because everyone else is trying the same solutions that got us here. You need people who think tactically, not just strategically. Tactically? Military approach. Identify the real problems, not the obvious ones. Use unconventional resources. Execute fast and adjust as you go. He was desperate enough to say yes. I selected 8 people others had written off. Blake, a cybersecurity guy who spotted attack patterns others missed. Owen, a UX designer whose interfaces made sense to actual users instead of focus groups. Layla, customer relations manager who remembered every client conversation and somehow turned complaints into compliments. Raj, an accountant who questioned every expense and usually found better ways to spend money. Andrew Kim, facilities engineer with a master's degree from Seoul National, who'd been stuck fixing air conditioning because his accent made managers assume he couldn't handle complex work. Donna, receptionist who spoke 7 languages and read defense industry trade magazines for fun. Kit, logistics coordinator who understood our supply chain better than our procurement department. Yvette, maintenance supervisor who held 3 patents in materials science that no one bothered to look up. We took over a storage room while everyone else attended crisis meetings. We redesigned systems, rebuilt client relationships, and figured out how to actually deliver what we promised instead of what looked good in PowerPoints. 6 months later, revenue stabilized. 8 months later, we were growing again. 10 months later, we were ahead of where we'd been before the crisis. The executives celebrated their brilliant leadership. We kept working. Hugo knew what we'd done. He doubled our budget and gave us autonomy to choose projects. We became the Special Solutions Division. Most employees had no idea we existed, which was fine with us. For 18 months, everything worked. We solved problems before they became crises. We improved systems before they broke. We built relationships instead of just managing contracts. Then, 3 months ago, the investors decided Hugo needed help running a successful company. That's when they brought in Jerry Walsh. Gerald Walsh came with a reputation, the kind of reputation that makes CEOs nervous and employees update their resumes. He'd optimized 3 different defense contractors over the past 4 years. Always the same pattern: slash departments, cut personnel, deliver short-term profit bumps that made investors happy. What happened to those companies after he moved on wasn't his problem. Our first meeting should have been a warning. So you run this... He glanced at his tablet. Special Solutions Division. What exactly do you solve? We identify problems before they become crises. Last quarter, we prevented a security breach that could have cost us our defense clearance. He scrolled through numbers without looking up. Your team costs $2.1 million annually. That's excessive for support functions. We're not support. We're prevention. Every department claims they're essential, Nathan. His smile never touched his eyes. I need measurable ROI, not war stories. I handed him a folder with our performance data. $8.5 million in prevented losses over 18 months. 5 security improvements that helped us win the Meridian 2.0 contract. Client retention rate of 98% compared to industry average of 73%. He set it aside without opening it. I'll review this when I have time. For 3 weeks, he shadowed departments, interviewed employees, examined budgets. He never once talked to my team members about their actual work, just looked at spreadsheets and made notes. I watched him building his case against us, collecting numbers to support whatever conclusion he'd already reached. Then Friday morning, he walked into my office and gave me the ultimatum. After I told my team about Jerry's deadline, we sat in that conference room for maybe 10 minutes without saying much. Finally, Layla spoke up. So we're supposed to just accept this, after everything we've done? No, I said. We're going to show him exactly who he's messing with. How? Raj asked. He won't even look at our performance reports. I smiled for the first time that day. Remember how we solved the Jakarta supply chain problem last year? We didn't go through official channels. We used relationships. Owen nodded slowly. You're suggesting we bypass him entirely. Jerry thinks information flows through org charts. He doesn't understand it flows through people. What are you proposing? Andrew asked. A demonstration. But first, we need to look defeated. The next 3 days, we put on a show, packed personal items slowly, transferred files to shared drives, documented our processes like good little employees preparing for termination. Jerry observed with obvious satisfaction. Thursday afternoon, he stopped by my office. I'm pleased you're handling this professionally. Some managers get emotional about personnel decisions. I understand business necessities, I said, putting a framed photo of my deployment unit into a cardboard box. This is why you'll survive the restructuring. You're practical. He tapped his tablet. Exit interviews tomorrow at 2 p.m. Security will collect access cards afterward. After he left, I sent one text to the team. Operation Blue Light. Friday was efficient. My team cleared desks, said goodbyes, sat through exit interviews where Jerry explained their termination with corporate sympathy that sounded like it came from a training manual. Security collected badges. IT disabled access cards. Email accounts got deactivated. By 5 p.m., 8 talented professionals were officially no longer employees of Meridian Defense Technologies. Jerry sent me a message. Clean execution, well done. I didn't reply. Instead, I called Hugo. It's time, I said when he answered. You sure about this, Nathan? There's significant risk if this backfires. I'm sure. Monday's board meeting, full demonstration. All right. You've got my approval. That weekend felt like the longest of my life. I kept second-guessing everything. What if the board didn't react the way I expected? What if Jerry had more influence than I thought? Monday morning, I showed up early, wearing the Navy suit I'd worn to my promotion ceremony 2 years ago. Armor for what was coming. Jerry was already there, reviewing his presentation for the quarterly board meeting. I've included your team's elimination in the efficiency highlights, he told me. 20% immediate cost reduction looks impressive. Thanks for featuring our contribution, I said. At 9 a.m., board members started arriving. 12 executives in expensive suits filed into the conference room. Jerry greeted them with practiced corporate charm. We have significant progress to report, he announced. The restructuring is already showing measurable results. I stood quietly at the back, watching. At exactly 9:15, the side door opened. Hugo walked in first, followed by 8 familiar faces. My team. Jerry's presentation died mid-sentence. His face went through confusion, then anger, then something that looked like panic. What are they doing here? He hissed at me. I didn't need to answer because the board members were already standing up. Not with confusion, with smiles, handshakes, like they were greeting old friends. Richard Blackwell, the board chairman, walked straight to Andrew and gave him a hug. How did Eduardo do at the robotics competition? Richard asked. First place at regionals, Andrew said, grinning. MIT scholarship interview next week. Across the room, Patricia Mills was showing Blake photos on her phone. The cybersecurity workshop was incredible. 15 veterans got certified. They still talk about your training sessions. Jerry stepped toward Hugo, his voice tight. What's happening? These people were terminated Friday, were they? Hugo replied calmly. I don't recall authorizing that. The meeting hadn't officially started, but the room had turned into a reunion. Raj and the CFO were discussing investment strategies. Kit was chatting with 3 board members about supply chain innovations. Donna approached with coffee, handing a cup to Charles Webb, our oldest board member. 2 sugars, no cream, she said. Charles squeezed her hand. Perfect as always. How's that granddaughter doing at MIT? Top of her computer science class. That recommendation letter opened every door. Jerry grabbed my arm. You set me up. I pulled away gently. No, I gave you multiple chances to understand what we do. You chose not to listen. Hugo called the meeting to order. My team didn't leave like Jerry obviously expected. Instead, they took seats around the table, mixed in with the board members, not clustered together like visitors, positioned like they belonged there. Before we begin our quarterly review, Hugo said, I think we need to address Friday's events. Jerry straightened up, getting his corporate persona back in place. As part of our modernization initiatives, we eliminated an outdated specialty team that was draining resources without measurable returns. The room went quiet. Then Charles Webb chuckled, this dry sound like autumn leaves. Outdated? You mean the team that saved this company? Jerry's smile flickered. The financial data clearly showed. Maybe we should clarify what this team actually does, Hugo interrupted. Nathan, would you introduce the Special Solutions Division properly? I stood up, feeling calmer than I had all week. 2 years ago, when we faced bankruptcy, I proposed creating a team that worked differently. People selected for problem-solving ability, not just credentials or department politics. I pointed to each team member as I talked. Blake redesigned our entire cybersecurity infrastructure after identifying vulnerabilities that could have cost us our defense clearance. Owen's interface redesigns increased user satisfaction by 42%. Layla rebuilt relationships with clients we'd nearly lost to competitors. With each achievement I listed, Jerry's expression got tighter. He was flipping through his tablet, looking for information he'd never bothered to collect. But these accomplishments aren't in the quarterly reports, he said. They are, Raj replied, just not labeled as our work. We solve problems, then hand solutions to the appropriate departments for implementation, which is why, I continued, terminating them without consultation was a significant error. The Meridian 2.0 launch next month depends entirely on their work. Richard leaned forward. Jerry, did you review the team's actual contributions before making this decision? I requested performance data, Jerry said, getting defensive. I provided comprehensive reports, I said, opening my laptop, including this email thread where you acknowledge receipt, but never asked follow-up questions. The projector showed our exchange, my detailed reports attached to multiple messages. His responses that basically said, thanks, I'll look at this later without any actual engagement. Patricia frowned. So you eliminated a team without understanding their function? I understood their cost structure. Efficiency requires difficult decisions about resource allocation. Efficiency without effectiveness is just organized failure, Charles said. A few board members murmured agreement. Hugo stood up. Let's be clear about what happened. Jerry terminated 8 people whose work is critical to projects representing 30% of next quarter's projected revenue. You could feel the temperature drop in that room. Board members started exchanging those looks that mean someone's in deep trouble. Fortunately, Hugo continued, Nathan alerted me to the situation Sunday night. Officially, these team members were transferred to special project status directly under board supervision. They never stopped working. The tension in the room shifted. Hugo launched into the quarterly presentation. Every graph showed improvement, every metric was up, and each success story connected back to my team's work, though you had to know what to look for to see it. During the presentation, Jerry sat there like a statue. His expensive pen wasn't moving, his tablet stayed closed. He just stared straight ahead with this expression that could have been carved from stone. During the break, I stepped into the hallway for some water. Jerry followed me. You deliberately undermined me, he said, keeping his voice low but intense. No. I protected valuable assets that you tried to eliminate without proper assessment. This isn't over. The board may be impressed by your little reunion show, but numbers don't lie. Your team is still overpriced. Something in his tone made me pause. What's that supposed to mean? He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It means I've been brought in to modernize this company, and I won't be stopped by office politics or old boy networks. Before I could ask what he meant by that, we got called back in. The meeting resumed with project reviews. I couldn't shake the feeling that Jerry's threat wasn't just corporate posturing. As presentations continued, I noticed him typing rapidly on his tablet, occasionally glancing at Hugo with this calculating look. Whatever had happened this morning hadn't defeated him. It had just changed his strategy. When the meeting ended, board members stuck around to chat with my team. Jerry approached Hugo, speaking too quietly for me to hear. Hugo's face stayed neutral, but he nodded several times before Jerry left. What was that about? I asked when I could talk to Hugo privately. He's requesting access to all project data related to your team's work. Says he needs to conduct a comprehensive cost-benefit analysis. That seems reasonable, I admitted. But I don't trust his motives. Neither do I. That's why I'm assigning Raj to assist him. Full transparency, full supervision. Over the next week, things got quiet. My team went back to their workspace, continuing projects like before. Jerry retreated to his office, surrounded by spreadsheets and financial analysts. On Thursday, Raj came to me with a report. He's not just analyzing costs, Raj said, adjusting his glasses. He's asking detailed questions about decision processes, approval chains, vendor relationships. He's mapping our entire operational structure, looking for weaknesses. Exactly. And he's particularly interested in the Meridian 2.0 project. Wants to know which components are critical, which vendors we depend on, what would happen if key systems failed. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. He's planning something. That evening, Blake called me at home. Someone's been in our project files, he said. Security logs show access from Jerry's credentials, but he's examining code sections that nobody outside our team should care about. Could he be copying our work? Worse. Some timestamps have been altered. Small changes to security parameters, modifications to authentication protocols. Nothing obvious, nothing immediately traceable. I sat down hard in my kitchen chair. He's sabotaging the project, that's what I'm thinking. Create just enough problems to make it fail at launch, then blame our team's work. I called an emergency team meeting at my place that night. 8 concerned faces gathered in my living room as Blake explained what he'd found. Can we fix it? Layla asked. Already did, Blake said. I restored clean backups, but he doesn't know that. He's trying to make us fail, Owen realized. Sabotage the launch, then blame our work. Classic corporate warfare, Andrew added. Create the problem, then position yourself as the solution. I got up and paced around my coffee table. We need to understand his endgame. This isn't just about cost-cutting anymore. It never was, Kit said. I looked into his history at previous companies. Same pattern every time. Eliminate experienced teams, restructure operations, then move on once short-term profits rise but before long-term damage shows up. But why us specifically? Yvette asked. Because we represent everything he wants to replace, Donna said. Experience, relationships, institutional knowledge. He can't control what he doesn't understand. I stopped pacing. Raj, when you were working with him, which vendors was he most interested in? Raj thought for a moment. He kept asking about our security contractors, who we use, how we selected them, what it would cost to replace them. I opened my laptop and started searching. Look at this. Every company where Jerry implemented efficiency improvements subsequently hired the same security contractor, Apex Solutions. There it is, Blake said quietly. He's not just cutting teams. He's steering contracts. If Meridian 2.0 fails, Owen said slowly, we'll need emergency support to fix it. And Jerry will recommend Apex, I finished. A much larger contract than they would have gotten initially. We need proof, Raj insisted. This is a serious accusation. We'll get proof, I said. But first, we need to protect Meridian 2.0. We worked until 3 a.m. developing our counter-operation. Military planning principles applied to corporate warfare. By morning, we had a plan. Monday, I requested a meeting with Jerry. I wanted to discuss Meridian 2.0's final testing phase, I said. I've been reviewing the documentation, he replied. There are concerning vulnerabilities in the security architecture. That's actually why I'm here. The team identified potential issues that need immediate attention. Interest flickered in his eyes. What kind of issues? Critical ones. We need external support to address them before launch. In-house resources can't handle the timeline. I might have recommendations, he said. I could see he already had his answer ready. We were hoping you would. The board trusts your vendor assessments. I'll prepare options by tomorrow, he said. This is exactly why companies need modern management, to identify weaknesses before they become disasters. As I left his office, my phone buzzed with a text from Blake. Trap set, recording everything. Tuesday morning, Jerry called me to his office. 3 vendor proposals sat on his desk. I've reviewed emergency support options, he said, sliding Apex's proposal forward. This one offers the most comprehensive solution. I looked it over. Extensive services list, ridiculous price tag. It's way over our budget. Quality costs, he said smoothly. Would you rather save money or save the project? I trust your judgment, I said, watching him carefully. What's the approval process? I'll present this to the board today. Given the urgency, we should get expedited approval. That evening, we gathered at Raj's apartment to review our evidence. Security footage of Jerry accessing our project files at 1:30 a.m. Financial analysis showing suspicious patterns at his previous companies. Communication logs showing deleted emails with Apex dating back weeks. It's enough to raise questions, Raj said, but not conclusive proof. We need more, I agreed. And we need it before Friday's emergency board meeting. Thursday morning, I walked into Hugo's office looking worried. We've discovered critical vulnerabilities in Meridian 2.0, I told him. Multiple security flaws appearing in previously tested code. His eyebrows shot up. How is that possible? We're investigating, but launch is in serious jeopardy. Jerry suggested emergency external support. That would blow our budget. I know, but we may not have options. He's calling an emergency board meeting Friday. That night, security cameras recorded Jerry entering the building at 11:45 p.m. He went straight to his office, accessed our presentation files, and made substantial edits. Then he accessed our project database one final time. Friday morning, Blake confirmed. He took the bait, modified the demo files, and inserted additional errors. Everything's recorded. By 9:00 a.m., the boardroom was tense. Board members murmured among themselves as Jerry set up his presentation confidently. Hugo opened the meeting. We're here to discuss urgent issues with Meridian 2.0. Jerry, you've been investigating. Jerry stood up, projecting calm authority. Unfortunately, I've uncovered serious problems throughout the project. What began as minor concerns has revealed fundamental flaws in the development approach. He launched into his presentation, highlighting numerous issues, some real, most fabricated, all supposedly from my team's work. These aren't simple bugs, he explained. These are architectural failures that threaten the entire platform. Board members exchanged worried glances. Given the timeline and severity, Jerry continued, I recommend immediate intervention by external specialists. He displayed Apex's proposal. Their comprehensive solution addresses all identified problems, though it requires additional investment. How much additional? Richard asked. $2.3 million, Jerry said calmly. The room erupted in concerned discussion. Jerry waited patiently, looking like the hero who'd identified a crisis just in time. Hugo turned to me. Nathan, what's your assessment? This was it. Everything we'd worked for came down to this moment. I stood up slowly. Before I respond, I'd like to run a demonstration. I connected my laptop to the projector. The screen showed Meridian 2.0's interface, clean and functional. This is the actual current build as of this morning, I said. I'll run our standard security test sequence. The system executed flawlessly, every protocol working exactly as designed. Confusion spread across the boardroom. Jerry's face went white. That's impossible, he said. The reports clearly showed critical failures. Those reports were modified, I said simply, just like the project files were tampered with. I changed the display to split-screen security footage. Left side, Jerry entering the building Wednesday night. Right side, his computer screen as he systematically altered test results and inserted malicious code. This is footage from our security system, I explained. Standard protocol for all access to critical project files. I advanced to another clip. Jerry on his phone. We've created the necessary problems. The board will approve emergency intervention tomorrow. Yes, the full $2.3 million, our usual arrangement. The boardroom exploded. Jerry lunged for my laptop. This is fabricated! Security entered, summoned by Hugo's signal. There's more, I said calmly. We've compiled similar patterns from his previous companies. Same playbook every time. Raj distributed folders showing financial analysis. Payments to offshore accounts following each Apex contract. Kickbacks, he explained. 20% of each contract value. Charles studied the documents. The pattern is undeniable. Hugo stood. Security will escort you out, Jerry. As he was led away, still protesting, Hugo addressed the room. Meridian 2.0 was never at risk. Nathan's team identified the threat and protected the actual files. 3 weeks later, Meridian 2.0 launched perfectly. My team celebrated at Murphy's Bar down the street, not some fancy corporate event, just good beer and better company. The news reported Jerry's arrest on federal fraud charges. Multiple companies were investigating contracts he'd arranged. To seeing value where others see only expenses, I said, raising my beer. And to leaders who actually understand what they're managing, Layla added. Sometimes the best response to being underestimated isn't resignation. It's proving your worth when they least expect it. Jerry believed in cutting people without understanding their value. What he never realized was that true worth isn't found in spreadsheets. It's in the knowledge, relationships, and integrity of people who take pride in their work. His biggest mistake wasn't targeting my team. It was assuming we'd go quietly. We didn't.